Planet for October 18th, 2022. I hope you're safe and well wherever this finds you. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed to us on Spotify. The podcast is up and live. And before I kind of get into today's topic, just know that 27 Principles video series should be coming out shortly. And man, it's a doozy. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. So keep an eye out for that. So a little bit more on developments. But I just got back from Las Vegas. And when I say just got back, it was actually last Friday night. Actually, it was Saturday morning because flying right now it's an interesting experience for anybody who's been traveling lately. But I was out in Vegas for the Academy for Preferred Financial Advisors conference, which was fantastic. And I figured I would this morning share the top 9 things that I took away from the conference. Now, some of these are tactical, some of them are just sort of like common sense, and some are just tips. Remember, this is not specific legal advice, tax advice, financial advice, cooking advice, marriage advice, parenting advice. This is really general information for you guys, but I think there's some things here that you could probably, some of them are time sensitive too. So without further ado, let's get right into it. These are, when you're at these conferences, you have fantastic conversations with people in the hallways, other advisors, other tax planners, other attorneys, and we've got some pretty cool tactical things. I can't go over all of it in this short video because I always promise that the Sha Planet is going to be succinct, but we will have a longer webinar for those who want to dive deeper. So keep on the lookout for that. So number one, I've been getting a lot of calls even prior to the conference about I-bonds. I-bonds are basically offering something to the effect of 9.6%, 9.5% right now, but it is coming to an end in the sense that I believe October 31st or November 1st is the last day to get them. You get them straight from the website. There are some hitches. You're limited to $10,000 on what you could actually invest, but there are some workarounds that. Now, what's going to happen, it's not terrible, is after that date, it's going to go down to 6.47%. And again, that's still pretty good. But if you wanted to lock in that 9.62, it is a very glitchy website, in my opinion. But sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze. Is it worth it for $10,000? Well, maybe. Just know that it is going to be locked up for a little while. That's something you got to keep in mind. And then also keep in mind that there are some workarounds, but you'd have to buy things in different people's names. There's questions about buying things in businesses. So that's number one, I-bonds. The second thing, which a lot of people know about, but I just kind of share this, is my flight out there was super expensive. And I had to book another flight recently, also kind of expensive. But if you're not using google.com/flights to track a flight before you got to do it, I did wind up saving a couple of $100s. This is not one of those Geico things, 15% minutes can save you 15% or more. But go to Google Flights and set up a little tracker for whatever website, whatever airfare you're trying to track. And it'll kind of tell you when prices are going up and down. And I did save a couple of $100s on my flight. So that's number 2. Number 3, more of a philosophical thing. Downturns are part of the experience. It's been a very uncomfortable period of time. I know that. But uncomfortable doesn't mean unfamiliar. We've gone through this. This is one of those things that it's part of the investor experience. It's not comfortable. If you're not sure whether you're invested properly, get the proper advice, get an independent analysis, because, and that's something that we can obviously help with, but you want to know whether or not that discomfort you're feeling is just more of a, hey, part of the experience, or is it a sign of something deeper? Are you not invested the right way? So that's the other thing. There's a very important thing that people need to know before the year end when it comes to people who own mutual funds. Now, what happens is, and we went through this about 15 years ago during the last market downturn, is when mutual funds have large capital gain distributions, what's happening is a lot of people are leaving those funds, like people who are scared, people who are not disciplined, or people for whatever reason are leaving those funds. And the mutual fund managers have to raise cash. As they raise cash, they start selling positions, and they stick with the, they don't want to sell positions that are down. They sell positions that are up. And if they're up, that means there's capital gains. And if there's capital gains, it means it might be getting distributed to you as the investor. So now, adding insult to injury, the market is down and I got to pay more taxes. And we saw some of this last year. We definitely saw it about 15 years ago, more like 14 years ago. You want to know what your tax situation is going to be. There's no way to know with 100% certainty, but you can't really go into the end of the year not knowing what might happen, or at least know if there's some steps that you might be taking, or maybe there's no steps, but at least knowing what the battle is going to be. And along those lines, when I'm speaking, the next tip is when I'm speaking with a lot of these advisors, the people who are in the industry. I know I have friends who are financial advisors. I know people I don't know who are financial advisors who watch this. You can't do this sort of planning without tax planning. It's impossible, in my opinion, because you need to know what the repercussion is of a transaction, a trade, a financial strategy, tax-wise, before you engage in that strategy. So for those of you who are advisors, make sure there's a way to do the tax planning. And for those of you who are clients or just straight investors, and you're not getting the integrated tax planning and financial planning approach, you really need to revisit whether or not you're getting that full vision. Sorry, PSA, and shots fired. I get it. Next thing, make sure you know what the impact is of these interest rate increases, because it's impacting everything. And when I say everything, I mean, look, it's impacting whether businesses can borrow or afford to borrow. If you were thinking about selling a business, your prospective buyer may have a very different idea of how they're going to be able to purchase because of the interest rate increase. It factors into their purchase. For those of us who have life insurance or long-term care insurance, is that going to change some of our premium amounts? Because so much of life insurance companies' profitability is tied to interest rates. For those of us who have adjustable rate mortgages, how is that going to impact things? So there's just so many impacts and bonds, obviously, all this stuff is impacted by interest rates. What is going to be the potential impact on you, your lifestyle, your portfolio, your tax situation? All of that is important. Next tip, and I promise I'm coming to the end here. Warren Buffett had this fantastic quote. Some of you who are connected with me on social media saw this. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Who are you? Are you the one being transferred from, or are you the one being transferred to? There are some folks who have longer horizons who should be shaking the couch cushions right now to try to find change to get into the market. There are those who have shorter horizons where you might want to just rethink your strategy. So that's something to keep in mind. Last three I've got. This one's not really like a tactical tip, but as I go to Vegas and I walk into these casinos, I'm reminded of that adage of, I walk in, do I want to be the gambler or do I want to be the house? Because when I see what they've built in Vegas, I was staying at a place near, it was across from the Aria. It's called Vidara. And it's beautiful hotels, but man, the kind of money that the house is making there. Most of those investors are not making that kind of money. And why is that? Well, there's a bunch of reasons, but the house always wins. We know this. As an investor, you can buy the house. You don't have to pick individual stocks. You don't have to pick the winners and the losers. You could invest broadly across the market, diversify, because the house always wins. Of course, you want to make sure it's a good house. You don't want to buy one of the casinos in Atlantic City that's no longer around. So you want to be smart about it, but the house always wins. Be the house. Don't be the individual gambler, right? So that's another thing I was reminded of. By the end of this year, we're going to get some retirement guidance. Secure Act 2.0. Now, this is what I'm holding up here is our year-end proactive tax planning report. It's going out to our clients and our mailing list right now. If you're not on our mailing list and you want a copy of this, direct message us. We'll see if we can get a copy over to you. It is a paper copy, so we'll probably have to send it out physically to you as well. But chock full of proactive year-end tax planning, some of it general, some of it specific. So what we're expecting before year-end is what we call Secure Act 2.0, this 10-year rule when it comes to IRAs and 401ks and distributions. And it's going to change the scope of retirement planning. It might change things on the required minimum distributions front as well, too. So we're keeping an eye on that. You should keep an eye on that as well. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but I had so much to share, and I really just scratched the surface here with respect to the stuff that I feel like, I just want my community to know. We are going to have a deeper dive. We're expecting either 1 or 2 webinars, probably within the next 30 to 45 days. So keep an eye out for that too. One is going to be on tax planning before year end. One's going to be more of a market update. We might even consolidate them and put them into 2. And the last thing, if you are an existing client on our wealth management side, keep an eye out for that Pi Day invite because man, we got to place that order soon. So all that being said, if there's anything with which you need help, if there's anything that you just need guidance on, don't hesitate to reach out. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying this crisp air. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Shop Planet. Thanks, everybody.